Hello and welcome to the Game of Miles podcast, where Daddy and Papa take a game of inches and turn it into 1,000 miles. We are heading into week 7 of the TDs and Beer Fantasy Football League, and with me, as always, I have my co-host, Mr. Jake LaPotion, taking care of the business. Jake, how are you today?
Doing well, Spelly. How are you doing?
I am doing great. Hump day, ready for a great weekend, a fantasy, and we're really moving along here, so just excited to see what this week has in store.
The fantasy season is flying by. Week 7.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that we're already going into week 7. We've had a lot of drama happen already in the league, and it's only October, so definitely
a lot of drama. Nothing too bad as opposed to the last couple of years in the past, but it's a lot of petty drama, if you will.
I agree. And I just even looked at myself here in the mirror, and I realized I'm wearing my collared shirt from work. So just putting in that overtime right now, trying to finish up work and get this done. So I just saw myself. I'll be more presentable next time for the podcast.
Well, you look good. I look like a slob.
I love the hat. What'd you say earlier? It's just getting cold outside, or what's going on?
It's supposed to get cold tonight. My hair I was not having a good hair day today, and all my hats I think I've worn on the podcast. So I was trying to switch it up, represent the Royals since the playoffs are going on right now. I think Boston and Houston are playing.
Oh, okay. Shout out to the MLB playoffs. I saw the Braves and Dodgers game last night, which the Dodgers came back, so that was pretty incredible. But I'm definitely rooting for – who do you want? I'll tell you after you say.
To win the World Series?
Well, who do you want to be in it? And who do you want to win?
The Braves and probably the Red Sox, because screw the Astros.
Yep. Same with me. And I think you're rooting for the Braves as well all the way, and that's what I'm doing. So we'll see. The team I want hardly ever wins, but maybe this year it'll happen. All right. Well, with that being said, let's get right into our first segment. And, of course, that is going to be Check Yourself, the segment where we go and look at the commissioner's predictions and see how we did for the past week. Little spoiler alert, not going to be able to just go through and let everybody know we got the graphics today. Hopefully this is something that enhances the podcast experience for all our viewers. But we'll go ahead and still talk about it and go through each matchup. So, starting it out was myself, Peanut Butter Spellies, versus Adam. Adam was going into it as 4-1 into the week. His team looked great besides that one trade. Grant picked Adam, and not going to lie, my team went off. High score of the week, took it to the loading ... and got myself to 3-3, which was a big win. And we'll talk about that with my division a little later, but definitely a good win, and Fathom falls to 4-2.
And was that your second high score of the season?
Second highest score of the season. We were at Buffalo Wild Wings last night, and I mentioned to some of you guys that I'm also doing a pick'em. And it's $100 to enter, and each week you get the most right, you get $100. So I'm up like $250 here on the season so far, and in first place overall with that. So I just need this to pan out a little bit with this league, and I might have a nice little Christmas.
Hey, you can afford Christmas presents, and God bless America, betting on football games.
That's right. We just need Kansas and Missouri to legalize sports betting so I could do it from my app. But All right, you want to take us through the second one?
Second one was Basketball Jones versus Cock, Doc, and Drop It. The commish picked Cock, Doc, and Drop It, as he should, and he was correct. Willie moving to 0-6 for the season, and Grant. I don't know if the commission will go against Basketball Jones the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to pick him for sure. Spencer started out really rough and is now 3-3, as he mentioned in GroupMe. So shout out to Spencer. But we'll see if he could keep the streak alive. Of course, looking at the next matchup, Grant picked himself over Jim. That was just dumb. Division matchup, we all know that Grant is on his way to be Squid, and you're not going to be able to make the playoffs if you win those, or if you lose those division matchups. So big win, actually put me in first place of the division, and we are all tied, me, Grant, and Harmon at 3-3. So big matchup there.
And it was a close one.
It was very close
for Jim and Grant. Jim is holding on there without CMC. He's still getting some wins and putting up some numbers.
Hubbard is a good backup. We'll see if he can get CMC back, but it's not looking good.
Game 4 was Big Lang Theory versus the Sweatpant Bone Dogs. The commish was feeling something, and he picked the Sweatpant Bone Dogs. Incorrect. Big Lang got the victory, moving Scott to 1-5.
We also had Kyle versus Rich. It was a smart bet to go with Kyle, and Kyle got the win. He continues his streak. Rich, tough loss. I believe Rich is also 3-3. We'll allude to that here later in the podcast, but a lot of 3-3 teams.
Half the league, I believe.
Just about.
Last one was the Jane Kira Business versus Porn Chub, a divisional matchup. The commish picked the business. The business got the victory. Lopsided. Maury had kind of a blunder. Chubb was ruled out, I believe, Thursday. They ruled him out for the week. Maury slept in and did not get a replacement in. I don't think it would have made a difference.
No.
But you hate to see it. But he vowed to not do that again. And but the commish got that right, moving him to 3-3 overall this week, and an overall record of 21-15, which is still pretty good.
Yeah, I think so. Doing well overall. Rebounded from his 2-4 last week with the 3-3 this week. So as always, we will keep him honest and check him. But good job so far, Grant. We look forward to predictions tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, we are going to go into the slap bet showdown. So obviously, this is going to be a little lopsided for a few weeks with the fact that Alvin Kamara had a bye this past week. Even with him having a bye, I will say Taylor put up, I think, 28 this past week, and has really solidified himself as a top 5 to 10 running back. So I don't know if the bye would have necessarily stop Jonathan Taylor from passing Kamara, but the numbers are a little skewed, and I think Jonathan Taylor's bye is like week 13, so it's going to be a little skewed for a while. We'll see if Kamara can catch up with having the bye, and if he can, I think that's going to be trouble. But as you can see there, the numbers speak for themselves.
And Michael Thomas is going to be out longer than expected, so that should help Kamara's production.
Yep, and I'm looking now. Jonathan Taylor's bye week is week 14, so we got a ways to go.
Jonathan Taylor's past 2 games have been they've been something.
Yep, 30 and 28.3. So I'm not going to say I'm nervous, but I am a little nervous. I really need Michael Thomas to come back and get some of that 8-man boxes out of the defenses playing against the Saints. Hopefully he can come back within the next few weeks. But with that being said, everybody on my team's on the block, including Michael Thomas. So get him cheap now, and it might pay off in the future.
I will say I do think this slap bet's going to go down to the wire.
I hope so.
I think it is.
Win or lose, I hope it comes down to the wire last week, and maybe Kamara will have something similar to last year with a 56-point performance to finish.
No, that was and I sold him short last night. I think I told him, I said like he had like 45. Worst Christmas of my life.
Yeah, I think it was 56 or so. But
yeah, it's hard to enjoy the holidays with your family as you're watching Kamara score 6 touchdowns.
Yep. All right. And I'm going to move us around here. But next, we're going to go into the power rankings. Again, this is something that the best app in the world and fantasy football platform, the Sleeper app, puts out for us just because it is so awesome. But we just want to sit here and reiterate on on the podcast and walk through a couple things here. So starting out, of course, we had the Jersey Mike sub above the rest, number one player team ranking, and that is He-Man Woman Haters Club. Kyle is at the top once again.
6 weeks in a row.
6 weeks in a row. Too bad we don't have any free sandwiches. Otherwise, he would have been feeding his children for the past 6 weeks. But sitting at the top, Big Lang Theory is at 5-1 with him. So we'll see if he can keep that. But looking good so far.
Mm-hmm.
Big Lang Theory, as I mentioned, 5-1 at 2. Jiggy Care Business, congratulations. Getting in the top 3, sitting at 4-2. That's got to feel pretty good with the jump.
It does. I was hovering around 5, 6, 7 most of the season so far, and then I think I'm on a 3-game win streak, and that bumped me up to the top 3, and it's fun being up there.
It's fun being at the top. Hopefully, you could stay up there for the remainder of the season. Up next, we have Fathom at 4-2, and then myself at 3-3. If I was doing power rankings, I might have flipped these two just because I did just beat Adam. But I understand why the best app in the world put the record above the head-to-head matchup. So no worries there. I'm not bitter or anything, but something to keep an eye on. As Fathom, I don't know. I think his team's going to struggle down the stretch. We got Little Peepee's Lost Boys, Pickle Rich, Christian Injuries, and Cock Dock and Drop It to round out the rest here in the middle. All 3-3. We have 5 teams that are 3-3, almost half the league. There's a lot of fantasy left, a lot of weeks left. Anything can happen. And so I think that's a good spot. If you asked anybody in that grouping if they were at 3-3 at this point, if they would take it, I would say absolutely. You're still in the hunt, still in a division race. But
oh yeah, that's gonna be a grind, especially with your division.
Yep. Me, Grant, and Jim all sitting at 3-3. Head-to-head matchups are going to be key here, and I have a division matchup against Grant this week, so we'll see how that pans out. Number 10, we got Porn Chub at 2-4. Sweatpant Bone Dogs 1-5, and then you obviously have Willie last with 0-6.
Yeah, 1-5, 0-6. I don't know what their division looks like. That's a tough spot to be. But I think it's time I'll ask the question, can Kyle go the whole season being number 1 in the power rankings?
That's a great question.
Is it possible? I guess that's possible.
It is possible, 100%. My question after you asked that is now, did you just jinx him? Did you give him the commentator jinx?
I am usually against that, but at this point, I don't care. I think it would be pretty awesome if someone could do that in this league. But like you said, the bipocalypse is happening starting this week, and I don't know. I don't even know what the best record has been in our league overall, but Kyle, he's been confident since the draft, and he's got some swag about him this year. So we'll see if he can hold on.
He's got that another level of dad strength after having baby Carson just a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Not really fair to the rest of us, but hey, more power to him. Oh my gosh, excuse me. But I will say the number 1 team never wins in the regular season, so more power to you, Kyle. Just keep winning. Mm-hmm. And as a team that's 3-3 like myself, I really kind of want the rich to get richer, and I want these division leaders to really start to run away with their divisions, because if they get lost in the mix and Kyle, loses a few games but still gets enough wins, these wild card spots are going to come down to just a few key teams. Like we said, my division, everybody's 3-3. So if you don't win the division, you're really looking at that wild card spot. And I don't know if you kind of don't want to have to compete against like Lang. Let's see. What is it? Lang and Adam, both have 5 and 4 wins. So
yep.
Just you kind of want them to keep winning out and win their division.
Yeah. Well, anything can happen. Well, the 3-3 teams though, you guys are going to be okay. That's where the wild card happens and get hot and go on a run.
That's right.
You just never know.
And of course, Willie is still on Squid Alert.
I think Willie really jinxed himself when he labeled my division as the trash division pretty much. I think it was week 1, and look what happened.
Fantasy karma is real. Ask the
Mm-hmm.
commish. He will give you a whole spiel about it, and I'm starting to buy into that. So we will see how it pans out for Willie. But a lot of times the worst team also isn't Squid. So kind of to be those bookends, we'll see how it pans out for him.
And I do think Willie's going to get his first win soon. He's not going to get skunked.
Let's see who he plays this week. Willie, what is your team? Basketball Jones. Stop changing your team. Yeah. And that's even my bad. I have him as the Adams family on here. I don't even have the updated team name. Basketball Jones plays Pickle Rich, so that should be a good matchup. Mm-hmm. Rich is heavily favored, but we'll leave that to the commish to break that down. All right. Yes. Well, the past couple of weeks, we've been fortunate enough to have some of our league owners want to come on the podcast. This week, we had a special guest lined up, Mr. Pickle Rich himself, but at the last minute had to cancel due to personal reasons. So no special guests this week. Posh, I think we just need some of the owners to be accountable for some of this stuff.
Well, we took Rich to B-dubs last night, wined and dined him, got him to agree to come on the pod. Yeah. Little skeptical. He got the yips and bailed last minute. And Rich, I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but I canceled plans to push the podcast back to fit your schedule. And I didn't have to. So take that. I think that speaks to my dedication to the league and to the owners and to the pod. But no harm, no foul. I don't know if I'll ask you again to come on because you burned us once. So you might have to sit out a couple weeks. But we'll didn't give us a reason. Just said have to take a rain check. So we'll have to dive into that a little later.
Yeah, and this is the last thing we'll say about it. But Rich made their trade with Grant, Kareem Hunt for Calvin Ridley after promising his PIC that we would get something done. That's strike 1 in my book for the league. Strike 2, canceling on the pod. Very busy as fantasy football influencers and media stars. That's the people's words, not ours. But strike 3 and you're out. And I don't want to see him in the Squid playoffs. But as Grant alluded to, karma's real. And we'll see how the season pans out for him.
And, Rich, if we find out you are golfing right now, we will have a conversation with the commish, and we might have to put some sanctions on you.
We do not want that. But since we do not have a special guest, we are going to go and do a new segment for this week. And we are going to have a trending team corner. So I wanted to just take some time, and I need to move us again. I wanted to just take some time. If nobody wants to come on and give us some content, we're just going to talk about ourselves. So, Mr. Taking Care of Business, I am very impressed with you this year after being Squid last year, running a great beer mile, but really struggling with managing your team last year. You have come back in 2021 full force and have, in my opinion, one of the best teams, one of the most well-balanced teams, one of the most one of the better teams that I think can make a run long term. So I'm going to just be quiet for a bit and just let you brag about yourself. And I might chime in here and there, but what are you thinking? How are you feeling about your team?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for the kind words. We had to scramble and put another segment in here, and Spelly picked me to be the team to talk about this week. I actually was thinking to myself, I don't want to talk about myself in the power rankings because of karma. And then here we are having a whole segment on the business. Having said that, I have been confident in my team since the draft. After being Squid and having to do extra shots at Man Weekend, run the beer mile, get made fun of, it turned a new leaf.
How many times have you been iced this year?
This year?
Let's go back to the beginning of the pandemic.
2020.
In the last 18 months, how many ices have you drank?
I would say probably 12 to 15.
Oh, I would have guessed more. I would have said
It might
you're
even
in
be
the,
more. There was a time Grant was showing up here all the time. Ozarks, Florida. It was happening everywhere.
love it.
So, and I was drinking other people's ices because they're like, oh, I don't want to do it. You're the squid. And I'm like, yeah, I'm the squid. I'll do it. So, I mean, but a lot of ices. But, I did my due diligence. I did some research. I made my keeper switch last second. And
Yeah, keeping Joe Mixon, that has panned out for you.
yeah, and I like my team. I got Maury and Dick Doc in my division. Both are well-known fantasy players, and so I'm leading the division right now. But I'm happy. I'm happy with my team.
Yep, you are definitely leading your division in points for by a long shot. And look at you, actually leading in points against for your division. So that is a great recipe to get some wins in that 4-2. I did want to ask you, so who's going to be your keeper for next year? I think I know, but have you decided that this early on?
I haven't decided. I have two in my head. And it's actually someone who surprised me. He had a terrible first week, but right now the leader is Najee Harris.
Yep,
as my keeper. He's the leader right now. He is, I think he was like number 3 in targets out of the backfield. He lines up as a receiver. He lines up in the slot. He's a running back. He's a utility player. Also, touching on power rankings, I don't want to bring up old or rehash anything, but I should be number 2 in power rankings because Landon should have another loss due to Fathom's trade.
Yes.
So I actually should be top 2.
And again, if we were doing it, we would probably have made that adjustment. So I agree. We'll say here on the pod, you're number 2 in power rankings going forward.
Thank you.
I was just going to say Najee Harris is the number 5 in standard and 3 in PPR. So going into a bye week this week, but he has been amazing.
And he plays like 98% of snaps every game, and every time he runs the ball into a pile, my heart stops a little bit. Because I mean that happens with every one of my players. I'm just like, because last year I was so injury prone and COVID, people on the COVID list, and it was terrible.
Yeah. Well, one thing that might ease your worries this year is you have some good depth. So hopefully you will stay away from the injury bug. But I believe you were going to say something about Patterson, which in my mind is the waiver wire transaction of the year.
Yeah, he can be a running back or a receiver. He's both listed. I can put him in either one, which helps with my depth. And that has added to my success thus far. So he's worked out.
I love it. Well, you're doing a great job. Obviously, I think that you got a bright season ahead of you, and hopefully continued success, and you can win that division. We were talking the other day outside of the podcast how me and you have not made the playoffs in quite some time, and it would be nice to not have that 2 to 3 week anxiety fit that being in the squid playoffs gives you.
It's the worst. I do remember waking up on Squid Bowl Championship Sunday last year. Me and you had a little conversation via text. I went to Waffle House, pregame meal, and I went home and I watched football all day. And it was I was nervous. Didn't have any fingernails left. I was pacing. It was terrible. But it was over pretty quick, I will say.
It was that Thursday or whatever Friday Christmas Day game was crazy. But I've been squid before too. You'll survive, and as long as you come back and continue to press on, that's all you can do.
And I don't have my ESPN app anymore, but if someone does, please look back and see the last time Spelly or I made the playoffs and give us the year. And we have quite the record going.
And I'll challenge, and I guess I'll politely call out Willie. I know his last volleyball game, I believe, was yesterday. He might have a break. I'm not sure if he's doing a winter sport, but we might get Willie as a part of the podcast crew to get the website updated and maybe get some of those analytics
stat
back.
Boy? You can be our stat boy?
Yep, and maybe producer. He's great with media. I hope that the graphics today are a nice touch, but there's definitely room for improvement. We're very limited on our Zoom platform, but so yeah, I want to know. Last time me and you made the playoffs, I want to know the best record in the league, and I want to know. I guess it would be hard to say if somebody was like the top spot in power rankings the whole season. So maybe that's how we start keeping track of going forward.
Yes, those would be nice touches. And also, fantasy gods, if you're listening, don't jinx me for the segment on my team. The leader of the podcast made me do it. And so I don't. So just don't jinx me.
You know, I put it all together and I just told you what we were doing, and you just had to talk about it and to not make it awkward. So
I'll follow you to the moon. Whatever you say.
No harm, no foul on your part. I will take the karma if there's any backlash on that. But
I appreciate that.
Well, that is a wrap on our week 7 predictions and fantasy podcast. Always a pleasure to get together and talk about it. I hope you guys are enjoying it. And if you guys have any recommendations or if you want to be on the podcast, definitely reach out. We usually shoot on Wednesdays, but that will be a wrap for us.
Yes, and also look up those stats. Go to BJ's Hardware. Get your pumpkins.
Oh, my goodness. See, I'm trying to get off work and do that. We had Check Yourself. We didn't even have the BJ's logo. Oh, my gosh. Just so many fails on that part. So, yes, pumpkins this week. Support local businesses. Don't go to Walmart and buy your pumpkins. You're not even going to get a good size anyway. We partner with local pumpkin patches and haul them in ourselves. So get your pumpkins. We might even have a BJ's Hardware event where we have a pumpkin carving contest. So look for some more materials on that. But thank you for bringing BJ's back into the podcast.
Yes, BJ's Hardware LLC. Go get your pumpkins.
Love it. All right. And with that, from Daddy and Papa, we will see you guys next week.